Your journey never stops. A new adventure awaits you just a few clicks away. A road trip or vacation, a time to connect with those we care about. We take on the hassle so you don't have to. We are here to give you the freedom to go places. WopeCar. Rent a car in a few clicks.
Let me start with something very interesting today. So there's this person, imagine, always wakes up at 6 a.m. to post their content online. You know, think soft life, think gym content, think healthy living, everything cute and nice. And online, people think, oh my gosh, they're so consistent, they're so disciplined. But now you actually think, is that what's happening actually? Because most of the times the truth is it could be that they go to the gym once, maybe they pre-record different sessions and then spread it out throughout the week. Or it could also be that they're just, even in the mornings, they snooze their alarm so many times. So then now the question really is, are they really disciplined or are they appearing or portraying to be disciplined? And that's what we are talking about today. Welcome to WopeCar Talks, Freedom to Go Places. Today I have two amazing women here with me for this interesting topic. But before we dive right into it, I'll let them introduce themselves. Yes, you can go.
Okay. My name is Miriam Maku Amissah. I am an investment advisor and I'm a certified coach as well. So on a normal, I am working 8 to 5 as an investment advisor. I don't need to show up in the media for that. And then I do my coaching business as well. I help people to be the best versions of themselves, and that requires me to show up on social media every now and then.
All right. Lovely to meet you, Miriam.
Nice meeting you.
Hello, my name is Bibiana Gyasi. I'm a food blogger. I also do travel and culture content, and I recently wrote a children's book. So for me, I just create content online. I share my life with my followers, and then I just have fun on social media.
That's great. It's nice to meet you both. So from how you just introduced yourself, you both have presence online. And my first question, or what I'll start is with, what do you think about the topic on the table today? And also, would you say that your life privately is different from what people see outside?
So for me, it's not very different. And I always like to show up as myself, very bubbly and smiley. So most of my pictures, I'm either smiling or quite bubbly in my writing as well. But to keep doing that, I would say that it's not very easy. To keep showing up as who you are always is not easy. And so certainly you have to, at a point in time, curate the kind of things that you want to show on social media. So there's always the gap of who you are behind the camera and then in front of the camera. But integrity is not performance. So there's always that friction trying to blend the two of them for me.
And coming to you, when you think about integrity versus image, what would you say is key, or what would you say is important? And also, just to add on to what she said, would you also say that maybe who you are in person is not it's not far off from who you are online on social media?
Okay, so I agree with everything she said. Who I am on social media is who I am in person, but then it's not every part of my life that I show. And also, as human beings, we are all going through the human experience. You're not always on a high, even if you're bubbly, you're not bubbly all the time. At times where you're tired, at times where you're, as a woman, your hormones are acting like you don't want to talk to anybody, but you can't go and put that on social media. And so there are times where you'd have to curate, especially if you have a business or a brand to portray, you have to curate certain things to show online. But like she said, integrity is important, right? It's just about you sitting down and deciding what's your integrity, what are the things you will not compromise on, even as you show up on social media. So even though the days are not going to be the same, you are still the person you are innately.
Yeah. And okay, so that brings me back to my next point. I understand what you mean by integrity is very important. Social media plays a big part to it. Even before offline, before we came on it, we're just discussing about this, talking about how now social media is a big thing. Maybe years back, people would post just anything on social media just for posting sake. But now, before posts come out, it feels like there's so much thought, so much thinking, depth, and into it before it actually comes online. And I guess people have moved from the section where, oh, they'll just take a picture and post. That, I would say, don't you think that also sort of moves away from integrity? Because then, are you being true to the public about what this post really is? Because by now, maybe a particular picture, you could have taken 1,000 and then you look for that perfect one to be able to put online. Would you say that is also still integrity, or you would say that, okay, we are actually moving out of integrity because then you're trying to portray a certain, picture or self to the public?
Okay, so I think everybody wants to look their best, right? Everybody wants to show up as their best. And a lot of people on social media to build brands, to build businesses, to attract opportunities. And so if I want to attract opportunities, why would I want to put my worst self on social media? It's not about me not having integrity or not showing up as myself. It's just there are certain times where you need to create an image, or what they will call packaging, right?
Yeah.
It's business, yes, it's business. But I don't think just because people are packaging or people are putting a lot of thought into the content they put and the things they put out there, it means they're not being true to themselves.
Okay. Okay, so what in probably maybe, okay, in cases where the example that I just gave, okay, so maybe you want, if you're a food, you mentioned food, travel, and then culture.
Yeah.
So let's say maybe you want to create some content around food, travel, or culture or something. Probably you take your time, let's say 1 day, planning content throughout, and then maybe to someone, you maybe day in day out, every day you wake up, you have a to-do list, you're going out to maybe, okay, today I want to do this, tomorrow I'm doing this. To them, you're working so hard behind the scenes, but maybe to you just took 1 day. So to them, maybe they'll see you as someone who is very disciplined, and then they might feel like, oh, they are not disciplined, they are just wasting their life, wasting their time, what are they doing with their life? But then that's not the case. So then what's the bridge in between, so that people can know that as much as that, okay, yes, I'm an influencer or a content creator, and I'm putting out content, I'm still being true to myself, and you shouldn't feel like because I'm always consistent, but then there are also other ways of you to also be consistent in what you do. What would you say that bridge is?
Okay, so I think for me, the people that follow me know that I'm very real with them. When I'm batching, I tell you I'm batching. There are days where I'm not doing anything. I let them know that today I'm just not in the mood to do anything. And so for me, I'm not judging anybody who doesn't do that, right? For me, that's just how I built my brand. I've shared my journey from day one up till now. And so I am very open about, okay, I signed up to the gym, but I just went 4 times in a month. I didn't go again. They know some of those things because I'm very open about that. And I do think that a lot of other people are also like that. But everybody has their way of showing up online. And I cannot say because I am transparent, I'm going to judge another person for not being transparent. But then for me, I'm very open about some of those things.
Okay, that's good. Once you're open, so I guess it's about people being more open to letting people know that, okay, as much as possible, this is real life. But coming back to you, what would you say that when you take out image and perception, what does integrity look like in someone's like 9 to 5 or day-to-day life, or even in your life?
What does integrity look like?
Yes.
It's basically doing the right thing when no one is watching, taking the right decisions when you know that you don't have to. Reporting, for instance, an incident that happened that you know that conveniently you can keep quiet about it and no one is going to realize it. And so integrity plays out in our day-to-day habits, in our day-to-day actions. You can't fake it. And so if you ask me about integrity, it's what we do and who we are. But we are also not perfect. I mean, That's why Christ died for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so day in, day out, we have to try to close that gap between what we are trying to do and where we want to be. So it's the little decisions that we take on a daily basis that actually become who we are and the person of integrity, doing what is right when it's even difficult to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because even in your day-to-day corporate life, what do you do when your boss is not watching? Like, they've given an assignment, do you have to, and even when you're living life, do you cut corners? Are you true to yourself? Are you being honest? Like, when you're given an assignment, do you actually do it, or you find means and ways to just, let me just do something and just present it? But that's a great thing. And what other examples would you say that people can live by, or can live to say, okay, I'm being true to myself?
When Bibiana was speaking, I think people need to understand that we are all imperfect beings. And even for those who are not in front of the camera, even for those who are not influencing, there are times they keep up appearances, because we live in a culture that rewards polished and posh. And so if you want to build a certain brand and you want to carry yourself in a certain way and you want to receive some kind of what you want to receive from people, you have to package and brand yourself in that manner. So you have to show up in that manner. Why do you think people will pull up in a Benz for a meeting? Because they want to build a certain kind of perception.
Yeah.
So I'm going for an interview. I don't really have a car. I don't want to show up all sweaty and all of that. So I show up in a car. Maybe I build a certain brand for the person who is hiring me, but it's for me to get something. So I believe that in building that perception or that brand, there has to be some truth to it, because you want to build a certain kind of perception in the minds of people because of the value you want to give to them. And people buy value, but before they buy value, they judge you on the product content. Would you walk into a shop, for instance, and pick something on the counter that is in a cracked or broken pack? No. No matter how expensive it is, that immediately reduces the value of the product.
Exactly.
And so that's why we curate. That's why we want to show up in that kind of manner, that you would want to buy the value that we want to offer.
That's actually good, because value is important.
Yeah.
And coming back, actually, for both of you, from your experience, because you both, one way or the other, work with people, especially with you mentioned you mentor people, you coach people. Coming back to you, so from your experience working with people, where do you most often see the gap between how people present themselves and how they actually live?
I think it's an inner work. Most of the time, you find people where the gap is so wide is when they are not self-aware and they don't know who they are. So the gap is actually wider when the person has not come to that realization of who I am and the value I bring to the table. So then I try to create someone that is not really me, because in my mind, that is what people want to buy. Okay, so I am not packaging the value that I bring on board. I am just putting together something in my mind that I think people would want. So the gap is wider when there's no self-awareness and you don't know the value that you bring.
To add to that, I think I agree with everything she said. And social media has even made it worse, because now people don't have original thoughts. People don't have, it's like everybody is following everybody. Okay, I want to dress like this because this person is dressing like that, and they're getting the views and the comments.
People tend to hop on trends a lot.
Exactly. And so you need to know who you are, and you need to be okay with who you are. For example, if somebody wants to get into content creation, the person feels like, I don't have an aesthetic kitchen like influencer A, so I can't start it. Or I don't have the nice house like this person, so I can't start it. And some people will go to the extent of doing everything to be able to get those things to start. Meanwhile, you don't need that. Like, you wherever you are, you can start and people will hop on if they can relate to you and you come with value.
And they also forget that most people actually started from somewhere before even getting there.
Exactly. So it's very important for you to do the inner work, get to know yourself, get to know even your thoughts. Sometimes you have to turn off social media and ask yourself, what do I really think about this thing that's going on? Because you will listen to everybody's opinions and it dilutes your own, and now you don't know what you're even talking about. You're just talking about what other people are talking about. So it's very, very important for you to do that inner work and know what you stand for.
Okay, but also talking about the inner work and what you stand for and then the value, based on the audience you've built throughout this, do you think people have created an image for you that you think you want to live up to now? That's probably now they see you in a certain way. So you see, I can't go back. I have to stick to it.
That's a very, very interesting question, because I think the more I grow, I've been a creator for 6 years, right? Okay. So the more I go into it, the more I become very grounded, and the more I become, also when it comes to like boundaries, I am very, very confident with certain boundaries now. So for example, I can post something, somebody will come and give me advice, probably based on who I was in year one. And I let the person know I'm not that person anymore. I can change my mind. I can grow. You know, sometimes when you are growing on social media or you start something and the people hold you to the things you said or the things you do, like the image that you were building. Yeah. And they forget that we are all going through the human experience. You are going to grow. You're going to change your mind about certain things when you are presented with new information and all that. Yeah. And so I think it's one of the things is being open with them, letting them know. So for me, when I say something, I would say that I can change my mind in the future, or if I change my mind in the future, anyways, you know, so that they don't hold me to, okay, you said this, and then I am saying this, because there's this situation of a lady on TikTok who said she would never get married, and then now she's engaged, and everybody is just attacking her, and I think because she should have probably said she can change her mind or something like that. And so when people were saying because of her they didn't get married, which I don't know why you would make a decision like that because of someone you don't know. But, you know, people are like that on social media. And so I don't live up to anybody's standards. I let them know I'm not perfect. Like, that's one of the things I really show. I show the good and the ugly. I mean, not all the parts of it. There are certain parts of my life I don't show. Yes. Yeah. But then I let them know that I'm also a human being going through human experience. I don't have things figured out. I'm a very structured person, but it's because I'm a very forgetful person. And so I let them know that the reason why I have timelines and I have a to-do list and I'm always like time blocking is because if I don't, my whole day is ruined. I have a very short attention span. And so I let them know why I do certain things so that they don't hold themselves to that standard I hold myself to, because that's a coping mechanism for me. And for some people, they don't need all of that. Yeah. So it's all about being open and communicating.
Okay, and in being open and communicating about all of these, do you think people also naturally draw to the fact that, oh, I want to be like you, so then I have to follow whatever you're doing, so let's say if they can't even afford a certain lifestyle, but because you are doing it, then now I have to follow it, and so they have to kill themselves or go and steal or go, like, literally living above their means. In certain situations like that, how do you handle that too? Because then I'm sure there are people who always reach out to you, oh, I want this, I want that. And also, based on how you live, I'm sure there are people that also reach out to you in your inboxes asking you, because they think that maybe, quote unquote, you're living a really good lifestyle. They can come to you for money. They can ask for opportunities, things like always flooding. In cases like that, so how do you handle that?
Okay, so there are so many examples I can give. First of all, people wanting to be like me, I always give a caveat whenever I share something. Like, for example, if I buy a TV, I'll let you know that it's sponsored. Like, a brand gave it to me. I didn't go and buy it. I'm an influencer. I get lots of things for free. And when it's free, I let them know that it's free. And when I buy it, I let them know that I bought it, you know. So, and one of the things I've also done is I have shared my journey. I didn't come from where I am right now. Like, it's been 6 years. Yes. I have grown a lot. And so people have seen that, oh, she started with just like a stove and a small table, and now she has a studio and all of that. So they've seen the journey and they've seen how consistency works when it comes to these things. So they know that I didn't just get up and start getting all these things. Also, another thing too is I always try and share opportunities that I come across. So, for example, I do some remote work sometimes. In marketing and strategy, because that's also my field. And so when I come up across opportunities like that, I share it with them, because you want to know how I'm able to afford my lifestyle. Exactly. I'm showing you the behind the scenes. Like, it's work. It's not like I just sit there and the money is dropping. It's coming from someone putting in the work. And with the parts where people come to me from, oh my God, I have stories for days. It's very interesting because, people are looking at your life from a different lens. You probably may be at home, you don't have money.
You're thinking
You're
of where,
stressed, and somebody is telling you about their school fees.
once you
Meanwhile,
also have your own school fees or something to deal
girl,
with.
meanwhile, you have your school fees to pay. You probably have to take care of a family member. But then they think that, because
it's
you're
all rosy.
Yeah, it's all rosy because you're always showing up and you're always buying this and you're doing this. Even though most of them are sponsored, they think you just have everything figured out. So that part is a bit challenging. In the beginning, I mean, I had to give in sometimes because I was like, let me help these people. But I realized, wait, it's becoming too much. I don't think I can keep up.
Yeah.
So I just started setting a lot of boundaries. Yes,
that's the thing.
I don't think I can do this right now, or I wish you the best. Sometimes if it's a job they want, I can post on my story. Some of them will get jobs from my followers and all that. But I do what I can and I don't overexert myself.
That's actually good because once you start and it becomes a thing and people keep coming back and then now it's also difficult to actually identify who's actually being genuine, who really needs it. But coming back to you, would you say, or what would you say that you've heard about yourself that maybe people say, oh, you're this or you're that? That's maybe a certain image that people have portrayed you to be, but it's not entirely true.
Entirely true as in negative or positive?
It could be both ways.
Both ways, okay. And just to add to her, I don't think we should be apologetic when people want to follow us because that's who God has made us.
Has to be.
He said we are a city set on a hill. We cannot be hidden. And really, once we get to that point, people are actually looking up to us for guidance.
Exactly.
And He's given us gifts and talents. So I may have something that you don't have. So it's okay to look up to me to get it done. And that's where the responsibility lies on me to hone those skills, to make them great, to give you value. So we shouldn't be apologetic about it.
Totally agree to that. Because it's actually something I was reading today, how we're all not perfect, but God has, even if it's one thing that God has put in, let's say one gift, special gifts for you, special gifts for you, special gifts for me, we all come together and then make it work and makes it a team. So that's actually really...
And so coming to the question you asked me, have I heard things? Yes. Sometimes you're shocked, sometimes you're surprised that...
Is it me?
Are they really talking about me? Like when I started public speaking, and people would think that you're so good at this, but every time I stand on stage, I have butterflies. It always happens. So then there's always that perception of who people will create of you in their minds. And it's okay. You don't have control over that. And I think we should also try, for those of us who try to create content, to separate what people think of us and what we actually think of ourselves. Because we don't have control over what people think. And so we actually stress ourselves if we try to fix that. But I always work with feedback. I am trying to portray and put in your mind a certain perception. So by you telling me this, you're telling me that, no, I'm not doing a good work at it. I should do better. Because if I am not portraying what you want to see or what you're receiving, it's more like communication. I'm speaking by the brand and the things that I'm doing. So if you are not receiving it in that manner, then it's good feedback for me to work on it. Yet it's not every feedback that you can work on. So do what you have to do and keep doing your best in portraying the value that you have to offer to others.
What about you two?
So I think, like she said, you don't really have control over what people think about you, because in as much as you want to show up as your best, and as much as you want to do your best, there are people that follow you for different reasons. I remember there was one time when I moved to Accra, and then I was setting up my apartment, and I bought a fridge, and then somebody was in my DMs like, how are you people affording this lifestyle? Who is sponsoring you people? I was like, it's just a fridge. How are you thinking that someone bought me a fridge? I can't buy myself a fridge. So there are people out there who think that certain people are doing certain bad things. It probably is not like that. And there's nothing you can do about what the person thinks. You can explain and explain and explain. The person that wants to misunderstand you will misunderstand you. So you just have to show up as your best self and do what you can. And then the feedback too is important. Always like checking in and letting them know that, trying to find out if the message you're trying to put out there it's working. So for me, I do a lot of engagements with my followers. Okay. We do Q&As. Like my stories are very, very fun. We do lots of Q&As. We talk. We have conversations. I have takes that I talk about all the time so that I can continue to like engage them and figure out if the kind of image I want to put out there is what is being received.
But how do you make the decision on what you want to let the public know and what you want to keep private?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think that also goes back to the inner work, right? So you have to identify what you're willing to put out there. I think we are in the day and age where people just for the views and the clouds, they'll put everything there. For me, there are certain parts of my life, anything that I don't want commentary on, I don't post. So like my relationship, I've never posted ever in my life. I don't think I'll post. I mean, I can change my mind in the future, but for now, as I sit here, I don't think I'll post it. I don't post my age because I feel like people want to kind of
people use that also as a way of
they want to measure if they think you're doing better than them or not, which I don't think is necessary.
And people also use it to think, okay, maybe is what she's saying true. Like people are just.
I can share it today or tomorrow. I just haven't made up my mind yet, but it's just something I don't talk about. My family, I show my mom and my younger brother because sometimes I create content with them. Apart from that, nobody else comes into my content. Even my friends, I share them like on their birthdays and stuff because people are just, everybody's watching you for a different reason. And I have the people that are in my life, I want to protect them from social media because I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of social media as someone who creates content, the bullying, the trolling, all of that. And so these are some of the things like financial. I give a lot of. So when she says she's a financial person, I'm going to speak to her after. I love money.
Yeah.
So I do share like anything about money that I learn, but I don't share like my earnings and those kind of things, that kind of information.
So that could also be controversial.
Exactly. I don't speak on a lot of political issues.
Okay.
Yes, I have my takes. I have who I follow, but I don't speak on even some social. I have social issues that I talk about. When it comes to women, 10 toes down, I'm going to talk about it, but there are certain things that I don't talk about. So you would have to kind of sit down and think to yourself, okay, what are the things I want to put out there, things I don't want to put out there, so that in the heat of the moment, you don't get carried away. Some people do certain takes that land them in trouble because they've never sat down to think, okay, do I want to talk about this or not? So you have to kind of figure that out before you even start or along the way when you're creating content.
Okay. Do you also want to add on to that? Or?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, fine. That's actually fine. So I actually wanted to come back to you to ask. So for someone who speaks to people on a daily, you coach people and all, or do you think there's a disconnect between who they appear to be and who they are in private? And then what does the work of realignments look like in that perspective?
I think it's similar to something that I just mentioned, that people... when there's self-awareness, the gap is not that much. So it's just helping them to close that gap and understand who they are because they are different, they are uniquely made, and everyone else is taken, so be you.
Yes. Literally, that's the best thing. Like, be yourself. Like, be true to yourself. Be you. Shine bright. Just as I said, we are all the light. So, like, we all have to go out and shine.
Exactly. Yeah. So it starts, that realignment starts from understanding who you are and the value that you bring on board. And so the realignment is always knowing who you are, the value that you bring, and then working it backwards. The real work is done behind the scenes. Like she said, no one sees the tough times that you have to sit through the night to prepare your content, to put the work in, to try to get the money to buy what you need to buy to show up. No one sees that. And like I always say, social media would reward the polished one. So you need to come up with that. I think I remember something that I wanted to say concerning what she said about sharing the personal stuff as well. I always say the motive behind sharing the story matters. Why are you sharing it? Sometimes it may be personal, but you feel strongly that there's someone out there that needs to hear the story. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. That's where I am active. And I've seen people share stories about their marriages, about their ailing partners, about their children that are not well. And there are always stories that encourage and move people, because you know there are other people in that situation and your story is going to help them. But there are some that you feel that they're just throwing it in your face, like they're married now and they have kids now, or it's a new job. I hear LinkedIn is one of the places that people buy pressure with all the alphabets that are behind people's names. So you need to understand why you're sharing it, and let that your why or that motivation be one that is going to help other people, not one to elevate yourself, because then that becomes very difficult to keep maintaining over the period.
That's actually so true, because the why always matters. Because just recently I saw this post on, I'm not sure if it was TikTok or Instagram, but I saw a post, and the person was sharing a struggle or something that they wanted so bad that they didn't get it. In my mind, first thoughts came that, why are you sharing this? Like, aren't you uncomfortable letting people know? But then again, that was just in a second. In the next second, I was like, so I actually took my time to read through, because it was a lot of slides. And after reading the whole thing, it actually spoke to me. And then I was like, wow, like, this is actually very deep. And then I'm actually grateful that I saw that, because then it actually made me rethink and actually became more grateful and grateful for the things that I have that sometimes we might take for granted. And then I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because then for them, they're in pain, but they're still sharing their story, so that still you are motivated. And even you might think that you're not at a certain place, but still be grateful for what you actually have, because there are people that are actually going through worse things. So
I had a friend who shared her story. Her husband passed, and she was so personal about the stories that she shared, from WhatsApp messages to pictures and everything. And I saw comments that people sent to her about how they suddenly wanted to do right by their partners, because they don't know when they are leaving, and they would want their spouses to be able to share how good they were to them. So if someone was back there sitting, you're being too much. I mean, everybody goes through grief and pain, but we don't go out sharing text messages and SMSs we shared with your husband. But someone out there is benefiting from it and trying to make a decision to do right by their partners. So it always goes to why you're sharing the motivation behind it. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's actually very, very key. And I'm shifting it a bit, so I'm coming to accountability. So if no one is calling you out, what actually keeps someone accountable to their own values?
So I think, once again, I always go back to the inner work, because when you have worked on yourself, when you are self-aware, when you know what you stand for and your values, you don't really need anybody to call you out. I think accountability is not something you demand from people. It's something you demand from yourself, you know.
You need to be accountable to
yourself.
First.
Yes, yourself first. So if, let's say, you say that you're going to speak the truth in every situation and you find yourself telling a lie, you don't need somebody to tell you that you're being a liar. You have to be able to convict yourself and say, oh, I mean, this is not consistent with the kind of person I want to be, or the kind of values I want to build as a person. And so, okay, why did I do that? That's where the self-awareness comes in. Maybe you were afraid in the moment, or you wanted a favor, so that's why you lied. So that's when you actually try to decipher why you did what you did. And so I don't think accountability is something that you have to wait for people to come and demand of you. You have to, as you go through life, you have to check yourself and the values you've outlined for yourself, if you are living consistent to that value.
Okay, and in being accountable, personally, have you guys seen anyone or know anyone personally that you think that their public image does not match their private life? And in such situations, what did you do? Did you advise them, or do you think people don't listen to such advices anymore? Or how do you handle such a situation?
So when it comes to the accountability, I think everyone needs people, cheerleaders around them who tell them the truth as it is. There's a Ghanaian adage that says the otra kwine enim se ne chia. And so if you are taking a certain path, it's only those behind you that see that, okay, you're moving off the tangents that you actually said you would want to be on. So I would say share your vision, your goals with someone that you believe is truly concerned about your growth and your success, and have them continuously check in on you and give you feedback about how you're doing. And try to keep the people who are negative
far away.
Not too far away. I'll say keep them quite close. There are some that you know that this is just
hating.
negative. They're just hating. But there are some that you know they genuinely care
about you.
Yes, and so what they are telling you is quite constructive. It's not to bring you down.
Of course, you don't need people that are always sweet talk. Oh, they're always pampering you. You need
praise singers. No. So just try and keep those people close by so that you don't get off the tangent. So I've forgotten what you said I should talk about.
So if you know people personally,
so on that one, this is quite controversial. So normally we put pastors on a high pedestal because we call them men of God. But they are men before
I always
the
tell
calling.
people that before any pastor became a pastor, he was a man, just like every other person.
Yes. So we typically do that. And so most of the times we get shocked when we go to their homes and how their spouses will talk about them, or the fact that, and sometimes it's tough to hear them say something on the pulpit, and you know how it is and how difficult or tough it is. Do you do something about it? I think when people give you space, you should. But if you're not given the space, it's quite difficult to just go in. Well, that's for me, to just barge in and say that I don't think you're doing this right. And what even gives you that right to go and say? But when they give you the space, like you're an accountability partner, for instance, then you can tell them the truth as it is, that you need to do this because it doesn't look good if someone else finds out. And it actually reduces the value that you bring to people as well, when there's such a wide gap between who you are behind the scenes and who you are in front.
And do you know anyone?
I don't think
so. You don't think you've met anyone that you think that their life is quite different from maybe how you handled it or approached it?
So I think because I am on social media and I know like the back end of my life, I don't put a very high expectation on people that, because I'm seeing this person, I think that a life should be perfect. My life is not perfect, so why would I demand perfection from someone? So I don't really have that high expectation, so I don't think I've experienced anything like that.
That's totally fine. And even just to add to what you're saying about accountability partners, so I have an accountability partner, and they are very strict on their work. So there was one time where I was supposed to do something, work stuff, that I have a deadline that I've met. So I told them that I don't know why I went to them, but again, because of accountability. So that's how I didn't meet the deadline. And they're like, and then the punishment, or let's say the fine, was for every deadline I miss, I'm supposed to pay an amount of money. They actually took the money. And since that time, I actually made sure that every deadline I miss it, because I wasn't about losing money. Because so these things always keep people in shape. That's why I can totally agree that, yes, I mean, if you can like find someone you trust, someone you can talk to, someone that you can be real with, and someone who can also like tell you to sit and you listen to and then pay attention to. So just to wrap this up, I don't know if you have any final words or advice to anyone listening. What would you say for someone listening right now? How can they start focusing less on image and more of becoming their true version of themselves?
Okay. So I think for me, I can talk. I haven't been in corporate or work, so I can talk about social media and people that want to become like content creators and influencers and stuff like that. I think you have to, first of all, I always say this to my followers all the time, like, you don't owe anybody perfection.
Yeah.
You might think that just because everybody is being perfect on social media, you also have to be perfect and you need to have the perfect situation before you start. There's nothing like perfect situation for anything, right? So you have to kind of start with what you have and then just grow as you go. And you can only grow if you start. Execution and motion is the most important thing. You can think and think and think and think, but if you're not executing, it doesn't really amount. Yeah, it doesn't amount to anything.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I would say. And another thing too is I think there's a lot of fear around, being out there and posting and stuff like that. Unless you want to be a very private person and you don't want to be on social media, we live in the digital age, and there are so many opportunities online for young people, more than there has ever been. Like, these days, you don't have to go the traditional route to make money or to build a career. And so if you have plans to do that, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be visible. Visibility is the word that we are all throwing around these days. You have to be visible for the opportunities you are looking for. Nobody will come to your house and be like, oh, you're good at this, so nobody will do that.
Yeah.
Even the artists that were discovered, they were online posting content before they were discovered. And so you have to take away the fear of, what will people think about me? Like, we've said so many things about that. You can't control what your family think, your friends think, social media people think. You can't do that. So if you're not doing things because you're afraid of what people would say, then you're not leaving. Because people say things regardless, whether you're doing good or bad. If you're at home doing nothing, they will say you're lazy. If you're on social media, they will say you're being too much. But would you be too much and get something from it, or would you be less to please people? That's what I can say.
So just be true to yourself and live your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, any final words?
For me, everything that she said, and also the fact that, like I said from the beginning, we're a city set on the hill.
Yeah.
That's my guiding principle, and the fact that God requires us to be seen.
Yes.
And I like a verse that a friend of mine uses, Pakwesi Folsen. He says, seest thou a man? And that seest in there is that visibility. So I definitely would agree with her that you need to make your value visible. Now, both who you are behind the scene and in front of the cameras are real. But you need to know which of those characters you're feeding. Because when you feed the inner self better, then it becomes your outer, and you're more confident of that inner that is coming out. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. Yeah. And so whatever you're doing, spend time on the value that is inside. And with time, you will not even struggle with the gap, because it becomes who you are in front of the camera.
Right. Thank you all so much for listening today. One key thing I all want you to remember is image is what people see, but integrity is what remains, and definitely one outlives the other. But thank you so much for being here today and joining us for this conversation. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye.
Your journey never stops. A new adventure awaits you just a few clicks away. A road trip or vacation, a time to connect with those we care about. We take on the hassle so you don't have to. We are here to give you the freedom to go places. WopeCar. Rent a car in a few clicks.